Hey everyone, it's Coach Roger here, your Live Younger, Longer health coach. Hope you're doing well today. Can't believe another Tuesday has rolled around, but I'm glad to be here. And I want to welcome any newcomers that are on board today, because this is an exciting program we're going to have today. After talking about superfood, sourdough bread, and brain health, it's time to revisit diets and go back to when we had our discussion on carnivore versus vegetarian. Well, today is something really good. And if you saw the title of it, it's Eat Like Ancestors. What does that mean? Well, exactly that. Our ancestors. I'm not talking about grandma and grandpa, their parents, or a couple generations back. I'm talking about the ancestors to the human race as we've come along over the ages. And the friend I've got today, his name is Wayne Coolidge, and he is a studier of the Paleo and Mediterranean diets, which are really connected to our ancestors and how they ate. And it's absolutely parallel to living lean. What I'm talking about is you live younger, longer health coach, lifestyle, exercise, attitude, and nutrition. And during this interview, you will see that and how critical it is that we follow the secret diet. Eat real food, not too much, mostly plant-based. So let's get started. And here's Coach Roger and Wayne as we talk about our ancestors and to eat like ancestors. Hey everybody, it's Coach Roger, you Live Younger, Longer health coach. Hope you're doing well. I want to welcome everyone back that's coming back, and for anybody new, thank goodness you're here, because I know all of you are here because you want to learn something about living younger, longer. And that's what my friend Wayne Coolidge is all about, along with me, and that is how do we live younger, longer. So with that, Wayne, I want to say hello to the people and we'll get started.
Greetings, everyone, and I look forward to working with Roger. We've been colleagues for a long time, and I enjoy his message, and I watched some of his work, and I'm happy to contribute if I can.
Well, thank you, Wayne. That's great. Well, you know, we've talked about diet a lot, and one of the greatest responses I've had to any podcast was the one about carnivore versus vegetarian versus vegetarian. And my thing, if you've followed this at all, you know what I'm trying to do is to make diet a noun, which is what you eat, not what you do. And looking at Wayne's business and what he is, today we're going to talk about Paleo Perspectives on Aging. And he's been studying this for 30 years.
Actually, yeah, a little more than that. 1979, I started with Paleo World.
Yeah, Paleo World. And when we met, I'm listening to him, and I'm going, we're on the same page. Basically, diet, when it's what you eat, is it. But Wayne's got a lot of study, and he talks about our ancestors and where we as a human being came. So I'm going to let him just kind of take it, and he's got his own website and his own blog, right? You have a blog, not a podcast.
Yeah, I have a membership website with a blog, video blog on that,
and what have you. So Wayne, help me out here, because as we just got done chatting, you and I are definitely. I'm all about lean, the 4 pillars of health, the lean pillars of health: lifestyle, exercise, attitude, and nutrition. And hopefully my followers know that exercise and attitude saved my life 17 years ago when I had my heart attack and got introduced to the fruits and vegetables with the Juice Plus products. But I really today want to talk about the paleo diet, the Mediterranean diet, and other diets around the world that work, because there's no one specific diet. I think, as you said, there's no one specific diet for the human being.
Yeah, that's where I started. There's no diet for humans, all humans. Everyone has individual needs, and if one diet was prescribed to fit all humans, some people would not get their needs met. And it could even be dangerous for others. So
Mm.
when I talk about, people really kind of believe I'm a paleo guy first and foremost.
I do.
It's
Very.
not all about cavemen and cavewomen. It is about ancestral health. Now, if you think about it, our ancestors living 10,000 or more years ago grew up before agriculture, and they had to move from place to place because the resources weren't great enough to sustain a large village. So they would eat animals that they found. They would hunt for herbs and vegetation and matter, vegetable matter, that sort of thing. And the one thing about that food is it was all natural. You absolutely know that the meat was high in omega-3 fatty acids because they ate grasses, which was high in omega-3s. They certainly didn't have a lot of omega-6s. They weren't corn fed. We
Mm.
know there weren't antibiotics in their system. They had no chemicals, no preservatives of any kind. And about the vegetation, one of the things that we miss now, and this is what makes me think of you in Juice Plus and in my beliefs on supplementation, there is no way that I could ever be convinced that modern humans do not need supplementation. Our ancestors didn't, because they lived in a veritable Garden of Eden
Hmm. Hmm.
of nutrient-rich foods. Back then, the soils weren't leached. Now you
Right.
go to California, they'll grow 4 crops of broccoli on the same field, one after the other,
Wow.
and they'll use three those calcium, phosphorus, and magnesium are the only fertilizers they'll use. Now that doesn't give it 70, 80 plus minerals in that. It's only the ones they'll use to make the plants green and lush. So there's no way we're getting. And plus, I won't go into a big physiology deal, but our systems right now, we just don't absorb, dissolve nutrients and get them into our bloodstream like we used to. Uh, Most people now, one of the biggest reasons people go to the emergency room is with digestive maladies. We have
Hmm.
abused our digestive system. Plus, we've relied on it by overcooking food and whatnot. So now our enzymes aren't as good as they were. I don't want to get off too much on the tangent, but the point being is that if we can live more like our ancestors and take this number, 99.6% of the time humans have inhabited this earth, they have been hunter-gatherers. Only in the last
Wow.
10,000 years were they starting to farm, and then the technological revolution, and now whatever this revolution we're calling it with all the AI and stuff. So think about that. And one more number I'll throw out there, and 72.1% of the calories consumed by Americans today were not available to our ancestors. In other words,
72%.
of the 72% of the calories are from foods our ancestors never had an opportunity to eat. Think
Wow.
about breads and Twinkies and all these uh, different foods that the industry has come up with, and it's all mostly processed.
Potato chips.
So
Yeah.
what we're going to find, Roger, and you and I have talked about this, the ultimate evil, I think, is processing. It's just getting us away. It's this nutrient poor. It's causing all kinds of immunity issues, bringing in uh, factors, dyes, and all these different factors, chemical issues that it's bad for us.
Yeah, something I think, and this is one of the biggest things about the nutrition when I was getting my certification was the all the additives in food and preservatives. And you think, okay, the processed food, they put preservatives in it for shelf life. And a good example of that is what they did with Crisco 100 and some years ago when they put hydrogen in the fat to keep it so it could stay in the cupboard longer just without any refrigeration. So you eat this stuff that we have chemically treated to last longer and put it in our bodies, and those chemicals are still trying to make it last longer, and our guts are trying to digest it. What's wrong with that picture?
Well, add to that, when it came to hydrogenation, I was in graduate school in 1989. My nutritional biochemistry professor, we're talking about hydrogenation and putting with that little bond that was available to saturate it with a hydrogen bond. Well, that's not a chemical necessarily that's manufactured, but our systems, our DNA based on our ancestors, didn't know how to deal with a vegetable oil liquid at room temperature, whipped up, hydrogenated, so it could be solid at room temperature. Our bodies couldn't deal with that. And then you see the big thing, oh no, you're not going to save heart disease by eating vegetable oil that's made solid at room temperature. It actually causes cancers and heart disease.
Yeah.
It just, science
It's
can kill you
round
as
and
much
round.
as save you. And that's an example.
So the secret, and let's go back a little bit to your paleo. And in your one book, you had this great pyramid of Paleo and Mediterranean diet. And what I found, and for my viewers, if you followed my diet podcast at all, was the secret diet, and that is eat real food, not too much, mostly plant-based. And looking at your book and the Paleo and Mediterranean diets, you have that food pyramid. And I'm gonna get that and get it out to the people. But it's basically the same thing. Eat real food, not too much, mostly plant-based. And I think too, if we talk about fats and having an oil change, avocado oil and olive oil and so forth, compared to hydrogenated and other seed oils, lard is better to eat than hydrogenated fat. I make bacon. We buy bacon, and with uncured bacon and no preservatives and additives and everything else, and I pour the grease off. And so I've been using coconut oil when I fry my eggs. Well, heck, I just take a dollop of the lard out of the can, and it cooks much better, and it tastes better. And I don't personally think I'm violating anything. That's, my body knows what to do with that fat, and that's what we're talking about. And part of what you have, I noticed in there, you talk about cellular longevity by eating right, by what the ancestors did.
Yeah, if you look at any of my work over the last 30 plus years, people think I'm a consultant. They think I'm a nutrition guy, a fitness guy, a trainer. Yeah, I'm all those things. What I really am is I'm a guy that tries to help you mold a lifestyle that allows your genes, takes advantage of your own genetics, and has your genes influence the cells so they display better. If you look at chronic diseases, cancer is probably the biggest one. You can almost imagine a big board with all these switches. In genetics, really, some of our genes are in stone. I can't make your brown eyes blue. But
Right.
what I can do is help you modify your lifestyle through your food mostly, and exercise habits and avoiding toxicities, so that these genes that you have aren't affected adversely and express themselves into disease states.
And if you go back to what he said, he's talking about the epigenetics,
Yeah.
and that is the switches in our bodies, and they get turned on and turned off. And that's something that the plant-based diet and the phytonutrients, it's proven that happens, and you improve health. And in fact, I know one of the clinical studies that Juice Plus did proved that those markers did that.
Oh, they improved drastically.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you see more and more now, get amino acids into your body and phytonutrients.
Yeah.
Plant sterols. So you got to remember again, our ancestors had that everywhere. And when I say it was a virtual garden Eden, it was. All the food and plants that grew naturally, the fruits, the vegetables, the roots, the tubers, cattail roots, for crying out loud, are some of the best food ever.
Cattail roots?
Oh, yeah, I'd eat them, dig them up. I even made flour out of it once. It wasn't all that good. I tried it. I dried it out and ground it on a rock, thinking I was a Paleo Indian. Yeah, I tried to live the life too, Roger.
Well, that's okay. You're educating people, and I think hopefully our viewers have got some other some strong things on this. And the fact that he said lifestyle again, first L in lean, lifestyle, and that's what we're talking about changing. And again, I don't get tired of people not thinking. As I said, my heart attack happened 17 years ago when I was 63. So you figured out how old I am, and I have no people still say they don't think I'm that old. But let's talk a little bit. Let's go specifically to the Paleo and the Mediterranean diet, and how would you compare that to the carnivore diet and the vegetarian and vegan diet?
Okay, that would tie up some of what the other.
That'll
Okay.
tie into what we've been talking about.
Well, first of all, the book that you have, this is the latest book, and it draws heavily on the old one. And I recommend an eating plan. I would like to say diet, eating plan based on Paleo, Mediterranean, and Scandinavian diets. And if you look at Mediterranean diet, it is nothing more than a warm weather Scandinavian diet. And literally.
Okay, so that's
the fish is
leaving the fish off, right?
No, the fish are in both, but more fish in Scandinavian. And the Scandinavian is a cold weather Mediterranean. So they both have very many highlights similar to each other. The one big difference is that olive oil in the Mediterranean diet is one of the elixirs of life, really. It's just a nutrient that our body craves. We evolved, fat being our survival nutrient. And so what I like to think about is, again, the hallmark of the two is that the Mediterranean does have a lot of bread, but in the Mediterranean does as well, but they're both very clean, very, very clean.
Mm-hmm.
And the wine in the Mediterranean, but one issue with the Scandinavian, it suggests canola oil because they have rapeseed in Scandinavia, which is a seed oil. We know how solvents, hexane, get used in trying to. You can squeeze an olive and get oil. You can't squeeze a soybean or corn or something like that. So I like to blend those three as an eating plan, and it's all illustrated in that book. But one thing I also want to mention is you mentioned the carnivore versus vegetarian. I am very intrigued by studying doing paleo research, and that people think paleo is meat centric. It's not. It basically is what our ancestors ate 10,000 years ago, depending on where they lived. So there's several cultures. There was an Andean culture. Indians lived in Peru. 95% of their diet was plant, and they had excellent heart lipids and cholesterols and no chronic disease. Say, okay, well, because of their plant-based diet, right? Then you look at the Inuits, and I have a lot of experience. I worked in Alaska, the cardiovascular health program manager in public health in Alaska, and I would go to Bethel and Nome and these places and meet with natives, and their traditional diet was 90% fat and protein.
Wow.
They ate maybe 10% plant matter. It wasn't the high fat and protein that killed them, or it wasn't the lack of protein that killed them. It was when the Alaskans started utilizing the Western diets. And let me tell you something real close. I don't know how we're out of time, but I sat in the living room one time with some elders, Inupiaq elders, and the lady was literally sitting on a couch chewing seal skins to make mucklucks, to make boots with, softening them with her teeth. And she had all her teeth, and she's like 70, who knows, maybe 80.
Wow.
Now, her grandkids ran through the house. Some of those kids in their teens hardly had a tooth in their head. Why? Because sugar, carbohydrates, and the food, the preservatives that were brought into Alaska were in the villages. The elders that stayed with traditional ways didn't get disease, didn't get diabetes, and she had all her teeth. It was amazing to me.
Yeah.
I mean, it was like real life anthropology. We knew by studying anthropology, the science, but you could see real life anthropology right there.
And Wayne, thank you so much for that fine example of different areas of the world and how different people lived, and how different foods, God provided different foods in different am I fair to say this, little genetics of the people that lived in that area that processed when they processed the food that they ate?
It's not quite fair, because if you look at our ancestors, we have pretty much the same genome, the same genetics as the people who lived 10,000 years ago. There's really only been two major genetic changes. One had to do with sickle cell anemia, and then lactose tolerance for milk. So maybe their digestive systems were used to it, but in terms of pure human genetics, not much difference between the Hadza living in Tanzania, who ate a lot of plants, and the Inuits that ate a lot of fat. Now, if you start to feed the Hadza people right now who are still alive, they're being studied actively, they probably would have all kinds of turmoil in their stomachs initially. My thinking is that they would adapt to it, because their genetics aren't any different than the Inuit. Very little has changed in how we are put together genetically.
Right.
And that's the reason why we have such problems, because our body has not adapted to technology, the high pace, the stress, the nutrient poor foods, the foods that are loaded with preservatives. That's what causes disease. Our ancestors didn't know chronic disease. The Inuits don't now if they lived the lifestyle. The Hadza don't now if they live their traditional lifestyle. And so we inject all these different stresses that our genome, our genetics are not used to. That's what causes issues.
Yeah. And that, as Wayne's going on here, this is something we're going to be talking about too, is the blue zones across the world. And something that, as I continue on with my podcast, is to take information like Wayne has shared, to take information that I share and other information that I dig out, where we can make our own blue zones. And the commonality of all of these is pretty much the Mediterranean diet works, and the paleo diet works, and everything else. But another key is exercise, is movement. Our ancestors moved. They had to move. They moved with the food. They moved with the hunting animals. Today we go. People pay thousands of dollars to go elk hunting, and they sit on a hill over here with a high-powered rifle and shoot an elk that's 100 yards away or 200 yards away, where those people had to get it with a spear. So it's, I think Wayne has really illustrated from centuries of how important living lean is with your lifestyle, exercise, attitude, and nutrition. And that the secret diet, as I was asking Wayne if it was okay if I use his Paleo Mediterranean food pyramid and call it the secret diet, and that is to eat real food, not too much, mostly plant-based. And I hope this has been educational and exciting. I learn a lot. That's why when I ran into Wayne a couple of weeks back, well, a couple of months back, and I said, I've got to find him and have him talk to you all, because he understands it. Our medical, we don't have a health care system in this country. We have a disease care system in this country because of what we have done to the food. And our U.S. Department of Agriculture is worried about production as opposed to quality. And I contend for those of you that have been fortunate enough to be in Europe, when you eat European food, it's different. And when you see the European kids, they're different. They're thinner, they're more energetic on the whole. But there's tons of obese people everywhere. And my frustration is the pharmaceutical market, and the fact that when you want to watch a program in the evening, you don't watch a program, you watch a pharmaceutical advertisement interrupted by a program. And it just makes me mad. So with that, I'm going to close. If you like what you're hearing, please subscribe, come back often, and share this with a friend. And Wayne, thank you very much for your time.
Welcome, Roger. Anytime.
Appreciate you.
Yeah.
Appreciate you. Hey, everybody. There was a lot of information there, and I know I had a good time doing that. It's been a while since Wayne and I talked. He was a trainer with me at a fitness center, and he really showed me some ropes too. But it really, when we dug into it, how well our ancestors epitomized the fact of living lean. Now, yes, they died much younger than we do, but there were so many things that are protecting us today that they didn't have. But they lived lean. And some of these people, we're going to see that in the blue zones as we go on our ways. But I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you got some good, meaningful tips out of it. I want you to come back often. Subscribe to me. There's a little red button down there in the corner. Subscribe, comment. Uh, please comment and share. It makes everything so much more worthwhile, because when you comment and share it, I'll answer you and we'll have a dialogue, and people will learn more and more about what it takes to live young longer and to maximize our health span, which leads into a better lifespan. So I want to personally thank Wayne Coolidge for being here and this great talk we had. And for all of you out there, here's how you can get a hold of Wayne. You can learn more about his program, Wayne Coolidge Health Promotion, and you can send Wayne an email at that email address. I'll give you a second to take a look at that. So, pay serious attention. Live lean, supercharge your health span. Your lifespan will love you for it. And don't forget, as Hippocrates said in 4th century BC, let food be thy medicine and medicine be thy food. See you next week. Look forward to reading your comments and having a conversation with you. God bless. Have a great week. See you next Tuesday.